Welcome to the Jayda InStitches show. I had to make a sunflower beret. We've been making all kinds of sunflower projects here in the last couple of weeks using our Boho sunflower pattern. We've got a wall hanging, we have a granny square, and now I have used that same pattern to make a beret. I love this. I think it is so just quintessentially fall. I mean, berets typically come out this time of year. But ever since I sort of started working this sunflower into these other projects, I wanted to wear it somehow. So this pretty little sunflower pattern is now a coaster, a placemat, a wall hanging, a granny square, and a wearable beret. I am using Hue and Me by Lion Brand for today's project, and we'd like to thank Lion Brand Yarns for sponsoring today's video. Hue and Me is a lovely size 5, very generous size 5 weight yarn. It's a 2080 wool acrylic blend, so it's surprisingly soft. It's really pretty. It's got a nice kind of feel to it, but the main thing about the Hue and Me line is that all of the colors are just designed to work nicely together. So if you struggle to match colors, well, you don't have that problem with the Hue and Me line. All of these colors have the same hue, so they all look really nice together, including the ones I feel I've chosen for my sunflower beret. If you'd like to check out the Hue and Me line of yarns, you can visit lionbrand.com. We've got a link to them down below in the description box. And if you like the Hue and Me yarn for this project, you will probably also want to check out the wall hanging, because we use the same yarns for the wall hanging. So whether you want to dress up your house or dress up your own head, we're going to make a boho sunflower beret today. So grab your hooks, grab your yarn, we'll head on over to the craft table, and we'll stitch ourselves up a brand new beret together. In order to make my boho sunflower beret, I'm using more of my Hue and Me by Lion Brand. I've got mustard, spicy, and night forest here. I'm probably going to need about 20 yards of each my gold and my brown, and around 60 to 70 yards of my green. If you're making this for a child, you'll need a little less green, but you'll need the same amounts for the actual sunflower. You want a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, a stitch marker, a measuring tape, and the hook we're using is a 7mm. You can also use a K hook, which is a 6.5mm. You will not notice too much of a difference between those two, but if you've got the 7mm, I recommend using it because it just gives you a slightly easier stitch. Once you've got all that together, we can get started. We're going to begin with our brown yarn. Let's make a cinch circle. If you have trouble with that, we've got links down below in the description box on how to make cinch circles and helpful substitutions for it if you still are struggling. Chain 2 more once you've chained 1 to secure your circle. The chain 3 will count as a double crochet for row 1. Work 11 more double crochets into that cinch circle, and including your chain 3, you'll have 12 stitches at the end of row 1. Once you have 11 double crochets in that cinch circle, grab the short tail, cinch it up nice and tight. Join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3, because the chain 3 does count as a double crochet for row 1. And that is 12 stitches all together. Make sure that's a nice, tight, 0 space center. Chain 3 to begin row 2. The chain 3 will not count as a double crochet for row 2 and row 3. I'll explain that further in a moment. Pull up on that, you can see where you joined, double crochet in the same place as joining. And you might find it helpful to grab your stitch marker and mark this little stitch. This is the slip stitch that joined the previous row. We also sometimes call that the false stitch because it actually ends up giving you an extra stitch all the way around. So you might want to mark that with a stitch marker. And into every other, or I should say every remaining stitch in this row, you're going to work 2 double crochet. So 2 double crochet into each stitch all the way around, and then I'll hook up with you when you get back to the stitch marker. Once you've worked 2 double crochet into each stitch, you're back to the stitch marker and the false stitch. We're going to double crochet into that stitch, skip the chain 3, and join with a slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet you made. That's 24 stitches. It pushes the chain 3 to the back. You have a nice round circle. Pause for a moment, grab your measuring tape. You should be 10 centimeters or 4 inches approximately in diameter, right across the very middle. For row 3, we're going to chain 3. Chain 3 will not count as a double crochet, but we're going to do the same thing. Double crochet into the same place that you joined. Pause, put that stitch marker onto the false stitch. It's a stitch that sits right at the base of your chain 3. Double crochet into the next stitch. And now, 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet once into the stitch after that. And that's the little repeater pattern all the way around. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way back to the stitch marker. I'll see you back there. At the end of row 3, after you've finished your little 2, 1, 2, 1 double crochet pattern all the way around, double crochet into the joining stitch from the previous row, what we also call the false stitch. Skip the chain 3, join with a slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet, and you can fasten off your brown color. So that's it for the brown. That is the center of our big sunflower. If you grab your measuring tape and measure right across the middle, you should be at about 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches. Take a moment to weave in that tail and then grab your green or the color that you want the base of your beret to be. And we're going to start on that. For row 4, we're going to change to our background color. For me, that's this lovely dark green. Make a slip knot on your hook, and we're going to be using the back loops only for row 4 because we need to separate this row into the front loops, this loop right here, and the back loops, the loop of the stitch that's always furthest from you. So row 4 background color will be worked using the back loops only. You've got where you fastened off your knot, so that's the top of the chain 3, it's where you fastened off, there's a knot right there. We're looking at the stitches on either side of this. We want to join here and skip this and work into the next one because we want to maintain a stitch count of 36. So join with a back loop only slip stitch into the stitch just before the fastened off knot, chain 3 and double crochet into the same back loop only. You're going to skip that whole join thing, go to the next stitch and back loop only double crochet into it, and back loop only double crochet into the stitch after that. So the pattern is 2 double crochet into the next stitch, back loops only, double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, back loops only. I'm working over top of my short tail because it lets me sort of cinch things together and keep that nice sort of zero space thing happening. 2 double crochet, back loop only into the next stitch. So you're grabbing the back loop, working 2 regular double crochets into it, double crochet, back loops only into the next 2 stitches. So 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1 all the way around. Because we took care of that extra gap stitch right here, you should finish the row right here next to where you started. So I will hook up with you right back there. 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, back loops only all the way around. Once you've gone all the way around, you're finishing with 2 double crochet in the third last stitch, double crochet in each of the remaining 2 stitches, again back loops only. You're back to where you started. You're going to work a double crochet into that same first back loop only, skip the chain 3 and join with a slip stitch to the top of the first real double crochet. So you should have a nice round circle. All of the front loops of row 3 should be showing. You should see a nice little ridge running all the way through it, and you shouldn't have a gap here. If you do, just take that yarn tail and weave it in nice and snug back and forth. It will disappear. And at the end of row 4, you'll have 48 stitches. You should have a 17.5 centimeter or a 7-inch diameter circle in front of you. We are going to continue with the green, the background color. We are no longer using back loops only, so you can go back to just regular double crochet. We're going to chain 3, double crochet in the same stitch that we joined in. You might want to grab your stitch marker and point out the little false stitch that sits at the bottom. That's that slip stitch to join. Mark it. Double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. That is your increased pattern for row 5. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet twice, or I should say double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So 2 double crochet into the first stitch of the set, double crochet once into each of the next 3 stitches. So 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. All the way around. You're using the whole stitch now. No more back loops only, no more front loops only or anything like that. 2 double crochet followed by 1 in each of the next 3 stitches. Repeat that all the way around. You'll have 60 stitches at the end of row 5. At the end of row 5, you're going to work your last little repeat pattern, 2 double crochet followed by a double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. That brings you back to the false stitch or the join from the previous row. Double crochet into the base of the chain 3 and skip it. Skip the chain 3, join with a slip stitch to the top of the first real double crochet. You'll have 60 stitches all the way around. We're not including the chain 3. And if you give it a quick measure, you should be at 21, almost 22 centimeters in diameter, or 8.5 inches across. And again, that's if you're making it for an adult or a child. For row 6, we're going to chain 3, double crochet into the same stitch that we joined in. Take a moment to mark out the false stitch or the slip stitch join from the previous row. It's at the base of the chain 3. Double crochet once into each of the next 4 stitches. We are making an ever increasingly large circle. And the new repeat pattern for row 6 is 2 double crochet into the first stitch of the set, followed by a double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So it's just a regular increasing circle, 2 double crochet followed by a single double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. You're going to repeat that 11 times total all the way around. You'll have 72 stitches at the end of row 6. I'll see you back at the stitch marker. At the end of row 6, same thing. You're going to finish your last little increase pattern, remove your stitch marker, double crochet in the false stitch or the slip stitch join from the previous row, skip the chain 3 and join with a slip stitch to the top of the first real double crochet. You'll have 72 stitches all the way around. If you do a quick measurement, you should be at 25.5 centimeters roughly, or around 10 inches. If you are making this for a child, you're going to pause here. You're going to catch back up with this again at row 8. But for adults, we're going to continue on now and do row 7. We're going to still increase. For adults, we're going to chain 3 to begin row 7. Again, if you're making this for children, just pause. Row 7 is not for children. It's only for adults. Double crochet in the same stitches joining. Put your stitch marker back in on that false stitch or the slip stitch join. Double crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. And this is the new increased pattern for the adult size beret only. Row 7, 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. At the end of this row, we will double crochet in the false stitch, join with a slip stitch to the top of the first real double crochet. You'll have 84 stitches all the way around. I'll catch up with you there. Adults, at the end of row 7, you're going to remove your stitch marker, double crochet into the same stitch that your marker was just in. That's the slip stitch from the previous row or the false stitch. Skip your chain 3, join with a slip stitch to the first real double crochet. You'll have 84 stitches all the way around, and if you give it a quick measure, you should be right across the middle, the diameter 11.5 inches across, or 29 centimeters. So that's where we're at for the adults. Welcome back. If you're making the child's beret, we are now skipping to row 8, and we're going to immediately start to decrease. So rather than work a row of straight stitching, we're going to just start to decrease immediately because this is a nice thick yarn. So here we go. Chain 3 to begin. You can put your stitch marker into that slip stitch that joined the previous row. Double crochet into the next 4 stitches if you're making this for a child, into the next 5 stitches if you're making it for an adult. And here we go. To decrease, we are going to double crochet 2 stitches together. Yarn over, pick up a loop in the next stitch, yarn over, pull back through 2. Yarn over, pick up a loop in the next stitch, yarn over, pull back through 2. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull back through everything. That is double crochet 2 stitches together. So it's 1 stitch at the top and it's 2 that sort of sit below it. Double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches if you're making this for a child, into each of the next 5 stitches if you're making it for an adult. And repeat, double crochet 2 stitches together. And double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches for a child, into each of the next 5 stitches for an adult. You're going to repeat that little decreasing pattern now all the way around, and I'll hook up with you back at the stitch marker. When you get all the way back around, you should have 1 real stitch plus your false stitch left. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to double crochet 2 stitches together using that real stitch and the false stitch. It's the slip stitch that we joined in. And then you're going to skip your chain 3 and join with a slip stitch to the first real double crochet. So you're still skipping your chain 3, you're just sort of moving where you have that skipped stitch. So we're using 1 real stitch, the false stitch, double crochet those 2 stitches together, join with a slip stitch to the first real double crochet. So it still works out. If you are making this for an adult, you should have 72 stitches, and for children you should have 60 stitches. So everybody's down 12 stitches from the previous row, and it should be starting to kind of bow in on you. All right, we're going to continue to decrease now. Chain 3. You can use your stitch marker to put that little slip stitch there in view. Into the next stitch, double crochet into the next 4 stitches for adults, the next 3 stitches for children. So we're decreasing again by 1 stitch in between our actual decrease stitch. So the double crochet 2 stitches together is the decrease stitch, but in between it's going to be 4 double crochets or 3. 4 for adults, 3 for children. Double crochet 2 stitches together. And double crochet once into each of the next 4 stitches for adults, 3 stitches for children's size. So we are just reversing the same pattern that we used to increase, but instead of 2 double crochet into the same stitch to increase, we are now double crocheting 2 stitches together to decrease. So you're going to repeat that little decrease pattern now all the way around. I'll hook back up with you. It'll be the same thing. You'll have 1 real stitch left plus your false stitch, and I'll hook up with you there. At the end of row 9, you're going to do that little thing again where you double crochet the last real stitch and the false stitch together. So double crochet 2 stitches together using the last real stitch and the false stitch. Skip the chain 3 and join with a slip stitch to the first real double crochet. So all the way around you should have 48 stitches if you're making this for children. You should be at 60 stitches if you're making it for adults. I want you to pause now and measure the opening. You should be at roughly 7 to 7.5 inches in diameter. This is the opening if you're making this for an adult, and it'll be around 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches if you're making it for a child. If you're making this for a child, again, pause, I'll see you again in a moment. If you're making this for an adult, I highly recommend you try it on. This might be a big enough opening if you have a large head or a lot of hair. If you want it to be a little bit smaller, you can do one more row of decrease along with me. But I recommend that you make it using single crochet or half double crochet as opposed to double crochet. So if you want to shrink it once more, we're going to do one more row of decrease, but we're going to use a slightly smaller stitch. So here we go. Chain 1, and I'm going to use the single crochet stitch. We're going to single crochet that stitch and the stitch next to it together. So single crochet 2 stitches together, and because it's a short stitch, I recommend you put a stitch marker on that first stitch. So that's chain 1, single crochet 2 stitches together using the same stitches joining. Single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. And remember, this is the adults. I don't recommend doing another row for children unless it's just you've got a large tension and you've got, or you're using a bigger hook or a thicker yarn and you do need to come down. You can do the same thing, but remember the children's size will be 1 less. So if it's single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches for adults, it'll be single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches for children. Single crochet the next 2 stitches together. Single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches for adults, or 2 stitches if you are making a slightly smaller version for children. You're going to repeat that all the way around, and I'll hook up with you again back at the beginning. At the end of row 10, work your last little decrease of 2 single crochet together, single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches, skip the false stitch, join with a slip stitch to that first stitch you made, which was a decrease, 2 single crochet together. You will have 48 stitches. So if you are making this for children, welcome back. I recommend a row of single crochet all the way around, no decreasing. So chain 1, single crochet in place, single crochet in each stitch all the way around, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. You'll have 48 stitches. If you are making this for adult large, let's say you ended your double crochet work at the end of row 9 as an adult, you have 60 stitches. I recommend a finishing row of single crochet. Chain 1, single crochet in the same stitches joining, single crochet in each stitch all the way around, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. You'll still have 60 stitches. I recommend everyone tries on their beret now, and if you feel that you need another row of single crochet just to kind of grab your head a little better or give you just a little bit more hat space, then you can do that. In fact, you can continue to add rows of single crochet now at this point. Your stitch count won't change. Chain 1, single crochet in the same stitches joining, single crochet in every single stitch all the way around, skip the false stitch and join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. That will continue to keep a solid stitch count of either 48 for children or adult regular, or 60 if you were making it for a larger head. But this is now up to you. You can also decide to fasten off this color, join another color. Maybe you want to make a little bit of a splash of color around your, to frame your face. There's a little bit you can do here, and it's also a nice way to kind of use up whatever yarn you've got left. If you want to try something a little bit sort of different and fun, and because you want to kind of work a little bit of color in, then like I said, you can fasten off and change colors completely, or you can try this along with me. I'm going to alternate between 2 colors. I want to give myself kind of a checkered feel around the frame of my face. It'll be a subtle detail, but it's kind of a fun detail. If you want to try this, it's completely up to you. Otherwise, this is a finishing row. You can just single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Chain 1 and single crochet in the first stitch as joining. If you want to try this color change thing along with me, don't finish off that single crochet, grab the other color you want to use and finish the single crochet with that new color. You can work over top of that short tail or leave it out if you want. And here we go. Carry the color you're not using. In this case, it'll be green for me. Start a single crochet in the next stitch with the different color, then drop that stitch, pick up the original color and finish it. Start a single crochet in the next stitch, carrying the other color. Don't finish it, drop that color, pick up the other color and finish it. So you're going to do some really like quick color changing back and forth. You're always starting the next stitch with the color in hand, but dropping it and finishing it with the other color. And then starting it with that color, but dropping it and finishing it with the other color. And the color you're not using, you're always carrying. So you're always working over top of the color you're not using. And in this way, you get a really cute little sort of checkered feeling all the way around the lip of the beret. Plus, you're giving yourself just a little bit more of a bit of depth to the hat, especially good if you have a lot of hair or you just kind of are worried that it's not going to sit on your head enough. You can do this for children or adults, but like I say, you don't have to do the color changing thing. I wanted to add it in because I thought it would look really cute. Kind of give me sort of a, bring in that lovely brown color around my face, but you can just do a regular row of single crochet. Work away at that regardless of what you're doing, and I'll catch up with you back at the beginning. Once you've repeated that all the way around, either just plain single crochet or alternating your colors every other row, when you get back to the end, skip across to the first single crochet and join with a slip stitch. Fasten off your yarn, fasten off both if you were using two colors. So fasten off that one working stitch, cut the other yarn, and you can weave them in back and forth along the inside edge of your beret. We are not finished yet. Now it's time to add our sunflower petals, which is going to make this whole thing look like a wearable sunflower. If you made the sunflower, the boho sunflower granny square or the boho sunflower wall hanging along with me, this will be very familiar to you. You're going to grab your golden color, start with a slip knot. We're going to join our yarn using a front loop only. Just to the right, if you're working right-handed from the join, the fasten off stitch, so this front loop here, just to the left if you're working left-handed. So join with a slip stitch. There we go. I like to work over top of my short tails because it helps me kind of cinch everything together as I go. Chain 3. This chain 3 will count as a double crochet for this row. Because we only have the opportunity to use the front loops now going forward, you're only going to use the front loops as you work this row of petal row 4. Skip the knot, skip that stitch there. You're going to work into the next stitch, double crochet into each of the next front loops only, the next 3. So the chain 3 counts as a double crochet into each of the next 3 front loops only. You are skipping that first stitch. That sort of knot, it's where you fastened off and knotted. If you're working over your short tail, you can cinch it along as you go. It will certainly help keep things nice and neat. Chain 1, and here we go. You are going to double crochet front loops only into each of the next 4 stitches. I find it helps to kind of pinch the work at that row, kind of pinch the work together so it makes those front loops left over from row 3 really stand out. They're the only part of the stitch you can really use, so front loops only, double crochet into 4 stitches, chain 1 and do it again. Front loops only, double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, and I'm working over top of that little short tail. It will disappear momentarily. Front loops only, double crochet into 4 stitches, chain 1. Front loops only, double crochet into 4 stitches, chain 1. And you will have 9 chain 1 spaces, and 36 double crochet, including your chain 3, at the end of this row. Again, we are on a row 4, but it's petal row 4. So we're adding our petals now. Double crochet, front loops only, into 4 stitches, chain 1, and repeat. At the end of petal row 4, you're going to chain your last chain and then join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. So we are including the chain 3 in that row. Including the chain 3, you'll have 36 double crochets and 9 chain 1 spaces. Make sure you have those chain 1 spaces. They're very important for petal row 5. Petal row 5 is where we actually turn this into a petal. We're also going to join the petals to our beret. So there's no sewing involved here, which is lovely. We're just going to create the petals and attach them as we go. So here we go. Right from where you are, you're going to just dip down into that chain 1 space you just made and slip stitch. We want to start in that chain 1 space. We are going to chain 3. Across the next 4 stitches, which includes this chain 3 from the previous row, we're going to double crochet 4 stitches together. So yarn over, pick up a loop, and work the first half of each of those double crochets. Yarn over, pick up a loop, work the first 2, yarn over, pick up a loop, work the first 2, yarn over, pick up a loop, work the first 2. So you've got 4 half created double crochets hanging off your hook, plus your working loop from over here that sits on top of the chain 3 you just made. You've got 5 loops altogether. Yarn over, pull back through everything. That is a double crochet 4 stitches together. We are going to chain 1. That kind of creates the little point, and now we want to join it. So lay the whole thing down nice and flat, and where it wants to land naturally on top of your beret, slip your hook through a front facing loop of the background, the beret, and slip stitch. That joins your petal. Chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch into this little thing here. So when you slip stitch to kind of make that little point on your petal, that little back loop there, I find that's the nicest place to slip stitch. So chain 3, slip stitch into the next chain 1 space. That's how you make a petal. Don't worry, we're going to do this again. So here we go. From the chain 1 space we slip stitched into, we are going to chain 3. Across these 4 double crochets, we're going to work a double crochet 4 stitches together. So yarn over, pick up a loop in the first stitch, yarn over, pull back through 2. That is working half of a double crochet. You're going to do that 4 times. You'll have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull back through everything. So that's double crochet 4 stitches together. Chain 1, that gives it a nice little point. You're going to lay it flat, and where it wants to lie down naturally, you're going to slip your hook underneath a front facing loop of one of the stitches on your beret and slip stitch. That attaches the petal to the hat. Chain 1, and then you want to slip stitch into that first chain. I like to use the back of it. That's the back loop. I just feel it kind of looks nice there. It creates this little point, a little picot for our actual petal. Then you're going to chain 3 and slip stitch into the chain 1 space back down there on row 4 of the petal. So what you're doing is creating petals, and you're attaching them as you go to your beret. So cute. Here we go. Chain 3. Double crochet 4 stitches together. You half work each of those 4 stitches. You'll have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull back through everything. Chain 1, that gives it a little point. Lay your petal down where it naturally wants to land on your beret. Slip your hook underneath a front facing loop of one of those stitches. It doesn't matter which one, it's just where that petal naturally wants to lie down. Chain 1, or I should say slip stitch, because you're attaching it to the beret. Now you can chain 1 and slip stitch into the first chain. I like the back loop of it. That just creates this nice little picot, little point on the tip of that petal. chain 3, and slip stitch back down into the next chain 1 space. That's 3 petals. You've got 6 more to go. You're going to have 9 petals all the way around. Remember, when you get to the point where you've finished your double crochet 4 stitches together, chain 1. That makes the little point. Then lay it flat, slip your hook underneath a front facing loop of one of those beret stitches and slip stitch. That attaches your petal. Chain 1 and slip stitch back into the base of that first chain that you made when you finished the double crochet 4 stitches together. You're just creating a little picot, and the top of that picot attaches the petals to the actual beret. I'm going to let you work away at those remaining 6 petals all by yourself. Remember to just pause when you finish the double crochet 4 stitches together. You do your chain 1 to sort of make sure that it's got a little peak. Lay it flat, figure out where the best little loop is to grab, slip stitch to join. That's how you attach it. Chain 1 more, and then finish that little picot point with a slip stitch, chain 3, and attach back down into the next chain 1 space. You're going to do that all the way around, and you'll have a little blooming sunflower on the top of your beret. As you finish your 9th and final petal, chain your last 3, and you want to join with a slip stitch in that first chain 1 space that you joined in, or you started the petals in. I like to grab that front loop of the first little slip stitch that I made, slip my hook in it, then slip my hook through that chain 1 space, and that's when I do my slip stitch. It kind of hides it, it makes it all look like one continuous thing. You can fasten off and weave that yellow tail in underneath all of those bright, cheerful yellow stitches. So you've got 9 petals. They are all attached at the point, all along, sort of all around, I should say, your beret. So make sure that, you know, you've got them all attached. You didn't accidentally miss one. They should be all attached all the way around. And now, like I said, just weave that tail in. If you're using this lovely thick Hue and Me like I am, it is got a little bit of wool in it, so it's kind of grabby. So you don't really have to worry about weaving it back and forth and back and forth. You can kind of weave it all the way one way and then turn around and go back. And I think doing that at least once should be enough to keep everything tucked in. Your tails should not want to come out. And there we go, a little blooming beret. A boho sunflower beret. It's a simple little hat. It's a lovely way to use up some of that size 5 bulky weight yarn, and it is just the cutest little accent piece for the fall. If you're not a hat wearing person, then you might actually enjoy wearing a beret because it's not a really hot thing. It's kind of just designed to perch on your head. It kind of hangs off to the back. If you have trouble keeping hats like this on your head, you can clip them. Ladies used to wear hat pins. That was the whole point of the hat pins. They pinned the hat into place so that it didn't go anywhere. You can use like a little clip, a bobby pin or something, and that will help keep it on your head. And it's just a nice way to cover a bad hair day or just pull an entire outfit together. I love hats. I'm a hat person, so having something that is an actual blooming flower on the back of my head is kind of novel to me. I've never had a flower centric hat before. I've had hats with flowers on them, but never a flower that turned into a hat. I really enjoyed making this hat. I really enjoyed using the Hue and Me, and thanks again to Lion Brand Yarns for sponsoring today's video. Again, you'll find their link in the description box down below, and we really appreciate them supporting the show. I hope you enjoyed making a boho sunflower beret along with me, either for yourself or maybe one of the kids, maybe everybody you know. And we'll see you soon here at the Jayda InStitches show. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and have a great week. Bye, guys.
Hi, everyone. This is Mama InStitches. Thank you for watching. Here are a few other videos you might enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can also click the like button and the bell. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.